Call this meeting to order. Mandy, recording secretary, please take roll call.
Afif,
Here.
Falk,
Present.
Gorman,
Here.
Pappas,
Here.
Volpe, Hemphill.
Here. All right, speaking of Volpe, I'd like a motion and second are required to allow member Jennifer Volpe to join the meeting remotely per board policy 222 as she is traveling for work.
So moved.
Second.
Afif,
Yes.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Hemphill.
Yes. So moved. Oh. All right, Jennifer, we heard you, so we know you're there.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can, thank you.
Yes.
Turn down the volume.
Request a motion and second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Volpe,
Yes.
Afif,
Yes.
Hemphill.
Yes, motion is carried. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Thank you all for coming out today, and for those of you that are at home. Before we start, though, I would like to make a statement, a brief statement. I'll start the timer myself. I'll keep it short, and then after the statement, what I'll do is I'll introduce our two co-superintendent interims. All right. Just want to provide some background on the selection process of the two interims. Following the board's approval of the mutual departure of our former superintendent, we immediately began the search for our interim replacement. The Illinois Association of School Boards, IASB, presented several candidates, and former board president Dr. Nolan asked Morgan and I to represent the board in conducting the initial interviews. After a brief screening, we selected 3 candidates for further evaluation. To ensure a well-rounded selection process, we conducted panel interviews with district office staff, administration, the CE president and vice president, and the BEST president on February 10th and 11th. I sincerely appreciate the time and effort of those who participated in those discussions. The panel's insight, along with candidate responses, were shared with the entire board and discussed at last Wednesday's special meeting. Some have asked why Dr. Howe could not continue as interim superintendent. Since the former superintendent's departure, he has been balancing both the interim superintendent role and his responsibilities as director of human resources. It's an immense challenge. The board recognized the importance of strong leadership at all levels, and to ensure stability, we believe appointing an interim superintendent fully dedicated to the role is in the district's best interest. Dr. Howe served with unwavering commitment, and we sincerely appreciate your dedication. On February 26th, the Board of Education approved the hiring of Dr. Griff Powell and Dr. Kyle Schumacher as interim co-superintendents. We understand that the leadership transitions bring challenges, and this decision was made with the utmost care for the future of our district. Our role as a board is to recognize when changes are necessary and to forge a better path forward for our students, educators, staff, and administration. Finding the right interim leadership was not an easy task. We sought experienced professionals who could provide stability, address challenges, offer fresh insights, and most importantly, help heal and unify our district. Dr. Powell and Dr. Schumacher, both retired superintendents, come with highly recommended and bring a wealth of expertise. Due to state teacher retirement service post-retirement limits, retired superintendents can work a maximum of 120 days per year without affecting their pensions. To ensure full-time leadership coverage, districts often appoint 2 interim superintendents who share the responsibilities. In our case, Dr. Powell will work on Mondays and Wednesdays, Dr. Schumacher will work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they will alternate Fridays. This structure ensures continuous leadership without additional financial burden. To provide stability as the new board searches for its permanent superintendent, Dr. Powell and Dr. Schumacher will serve through June of 2026. This timeline allows for a thorough collaborative search process involving input from educators, staff, administrators, and the broader 301 community. Finding the right leader for our district will be a collective effort, and your voices will be essential in shaping the future of our schools. Please note, if for some reason the new board finds that Dr. Powell and/or Dr. Schumacher are not a fit for the district, there is a 30-day notice clause in the contract, at which point we could mutually part ways. We look forward to working together, and during this transition, appreciate the district's continued support. And without further ado, we're going to start with you, Dr. Powell. Dr. Powell, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I've been in education for half a century. I've been a superintendent for over 30 years. I did 12 interim superintendencies where I walk in situations similar to this. With smaller districts, I go without a partner. When larger districts of this size or larger, I would work with a partner. Why do we do it every other day? For the sake of synergism. If in fact we decided a week on, a week off, or a month on, a month off, what goes on in schools in 1 week is an enormous amount of issues that pop up. And the only way you deal with that on a daily basis is you are fully aware of everything going on day to day. And from Monday to Tuesday, there's a lot of things going on. And when I finish on a Monday, my handoff to Kyle will be so seamless that everything that's brought up on Monday, he will be fully aware of when he walks it on Tuesday. When I talk about synergism, some of the whole is greater than the part and greater than the sum. Well, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get two brains working on the same issues and problem solving. One of the biggest issues that the superintendents, somebody's asked me, what do you do for a living? I said, and rather than getting into the superintendency, I'm a problem solver. One of the problems, I'll tell you a little bit, that was extreme. I don't want to take too much time. I was a superintendent of Highland Park District 111, which now doesn't exist. And what happened there is we had Fort Sheridan, we had Highwood, if you know where that is, it's right on the lake, and we also had the northern part of Highland Park. The district was going broke because we had 500 military children coming off the fort, non-taxable land. We had them coming into the district at the same time, we were getting $1,900 from the federal government, and we were spending $10,000. And we could not spread that cost off to other taxpayers. So I had a congressman that was a very powerful Republican congressman named John Porter. He had Glenview Naval Air Base. He had the Great Lakes Naval Air Base, and he also had Fort Sheridan. So he had a lot of power in Congress. So I said, well, I'm going to get more money for these kids. It's just that simple. How could they do this to these military families? He got me a meeting in the Pentagon with Dick Cheney. He was Secretary of Defense at the time. And I was Don Quixote saying, you're not going to send their parents over in harm's way in the Middle East, and you're not going to give me the money to educate their kids? And it was insane to me why that was not the case. Well, he was sort of in between heart attacks, and he sort of put up with me. And as I was walking out of the Pentagon, the congressman put his arm around me and said, here's the political truth. There's not enough military bases in congressional backyards, so when it comes to a vote, nobody cares. And that was shocking to me as a young administrator thinking that everybody has the right intent for children. Well, I came back home, and what I ended up doing is consolidating 3 districts. The district called North Shore District 112 is the district I consolidated. But to campaign for it, I literally had to say, because I didn't want to be seen as getting this fat cat superintendency once the referendum was over, I said, well, I'll leave town if that. And I was so successful, I left town. I ended up in New York for 5 years. So, and I give you that story because to me, you've got a lot of problems, and we're going to do everything we can in the next 16 months to resolve as many problems as we can, and in a very positive way, and hopefully bring people together and not create any kind of division within the community. The board has been, I think, very fiscally conservative. What we're paid is going to be less in total than you would have if you had a permanent superintendent in place. What I told the board president, I said, tell me the total package of the outgoing superintendent, and it's going to be even more for a new incoming superintendent, and we're going to take less money than that. So they're going to save money. The money they're going to save, they're going to use that money to hire a new superintendent through either a search firm or the Illinois School Board Association. Those are the two choices, unless you want to do it alone. I wouldn't recommend it. But that's another option. So to me, the board is doing what other boards have done, buying some time. The pool of candidates in the fall is a lot deeper, and you'll get a lot better candidates than if you do it in March, April, May. Most districts that superintendents who are very successful and are very comfortable in their position don't want to really walk out that early. They want to give us proper notice to their boards. Most likely, if this board goes down the path they're headed, they will be, in the fall, you'll have focus groups. You will tell the board what you're looking for, the community is looking for in a superintendent. And once you get that data from the focus groups, the board will ask whether if it's a search firm or the school board association, to take that information and give them some candidates. They'll probably, my guess is in a district like this, you'll probably get 60 to 80 candidates if it's a nationwide search. And from that, you'll get down to 5 to 10 candidates that the board will receive. They're going to be working their head off during the fall. They're going to be interviewing all of these folks. Once they get their finalists down to 2 or 3, those people will meet the community. You'll have your take a shot at them and be able to give feedback to the board about what kind of person that you want. Part of their job will be then to do a site visit, which is taking time out of their own personal lives and the interim superintendents are not part of this process. The search process, our job is to run the district and support our staff and give them all the resources necessary to do the job for kids day to day, and make sure they stay focused on the most important decision they ever make, and that's the hiring of a superintendent. Because if they make a mistake, the whole community loses. And a lot of staff members would leave here. If they make the right decision, some of the dreams that you have for this district will come true. So to me, I'm happy to help. What the board president just mentioned, if the new board comes on and they feel that we're not helping the situation, no problem. You have a clause in the contract, which was appropriate for, it's actually in all interim contracts.
Yes.
So to me, we have a commitment here, but at the same time, the board could actually change that at any time. So if the new board wants to make a change, so be it. So we're ready to do it. But we're going to do everything we can to support the staff and do what we can for children during the time the board is focusing on their biggest decision. With that, Kyle, what do you got to say?
Good night.
Good night.
There you go.
Kyle Schumacher. I have been a superintendent for 12 years, a few less than Griff. This is actually my first interim. I'm excited to work with Griff. He's obviously has had experience doing this. I've had experience being a superintendent, and I think that we'll be a good team in working on this. He's got much more exciting, engaging stories about amazing things that he has done. I enjoyed skiing and lived at a ski resort while I was superintendent in Telluride for 4 years. That's like the exciting part that I did. We're here to help. We're here to provide perhaps a fresh look at things, just as sort of outsiders who are here to really help both the board as well as the district office staff and the administration through these next 16 months during this process. And we were at 3 different schools today. This Rocket Hill, I think it's called. Is that the term?
Yeah.
Central
CHS,
Hill.
yep, Central High.
Today, so I got to see some of the schools, and we're very excited. Graciously welcomed by them and as well as the staff here at the district office, but excited for what's happening. I loved walking into the schools, and just seeing the enthusiasm of the teachers and all the conversations that they were having, as well as meeting the administrators there. So thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to working further.
And a real pleasant surprise today. My student from when I was a principal at Stevenson High School, Mark, was one of my students. I remember his sister because his sister was smarter than him. But I'm sorry. No, we actually lived within a block apart. Correct, Mark? Mm-hmm. He knows exactly where my house was. Now I know.
Don't hold that against me.
Now I know who put that paint on my walls.
Did you?
True story. One of my students.
All right. Is that good for intros? All right, with that, we'll go into public comment. Sherry Musil.
You're welcome.
I would like to begin. My name is Sherry Musial. I'm a fourth grade teacher at HBT Elementary, and I would like to begin by thanking the board for allowing me this opportunity to provide perspective with regard to upcoming policy decisions facing the board. There seems to be a general feeling among the stakeholders in our schools, that's the taxpayers, parents, teachers, students, that some policy decisions concerning the schools have been made without provision for input from the groups most affected by these policy changes. No organization benefits in this type of atmosphere. I am a taxpayer in the district, I'm a parent, I'm a teacher, and I feel like a student sometimes. And I know that all of the people involved with schools in District 301 are very optimistic that we are at a point of change on this issue. We are also very hopeful. I'm going to limit my own statement tonight to a proposal that was presented to elementary schools concerning the re-implementation of an accelerated gifted program in the district. I taught in the previous program in our district at Lily Lake Elementary, a program that I feel was successful for many reasons, but was ultimately cut out of the curriculum about a decade ago because of concerns of cost. Called the Challenge Program, this initiative was implemented by then gifted coordinator Lori Heisey, who still teaches in the district, and district curriculum coordinator Nancy Hayhurst, with cooperative input from participants at the local school level. Those participants had a positive impression of working with the district to establish and maintain the program. In many ways, I felt the Challenge Program was a success because it was done at the building level and within a learning community in their own schools, with their own classmates, their own classmate groups, in buildings with their own physical communities, and close to their own educational home. It was an effective program for elementary learners with effective support. In order to be successful and accepted by the stakeholders, I have learned that a program like this has to be carefully integrated into a system with the help of people who understand how important communication is at every touch point along the way. There are sensitive issues with a program like this for students, parents, teachers, and administrators that must be addressed cooperatively. As we approach this policy issue, it appears that we are now at the point where we can reinstate that kind of cooperative thinking. In a more practical sense, and from a classroom teacher perspective, I certainly understand the value of a program that provides services to students who have displayed academic talents beyond their assigned grade level. It is a worthwhile investment for the district, no matter the impetus for the policy proposal. Any program needs to be carefully constructed, though, and professionally integrated with the cooperation of all the stakeholders if it is to be successful, and I feel that the educators have not been part of that. But also from the perspective of a classroom teacher in the year 2025, this type of policy initiative needs to be sensitive to the needs for balance in support of all students in my classroom. It has been well documented that teachers are very concerned about the students who may not qualify for special education of some kind, but are still identifiable as deficient in important academic skills.
Hey, Sherry, I have to cut you off, but we're over time.
Okay. Just real quick then, I'll go to my last paragraph. Before we approve a gifted accelerated program, we should as a team analyze what the best approach really is for students' academic and emotional growth, and for students in dire need of math intervention. And also, let's not forget being fiscally responsible and include educators in these decisions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mike McMahon.
Thank you. There are a couple of things I wanted to address here, but first, I was very impressed with the two new superintendents coming in. I liked what you had to say. And I'm, by the way, the township supervisor, so when you talk about tax unfunded, or taxes that don't pay taxes, we've got a lot of forest preserve, we've got the same issues, so that's the position I come from. But what I wanted to talk about was watching the forum that was on the other day that you had for the Women's League of Women's Voters or whatever. And there were two items, there were a lot of items I'd like to go through, but there was two items in particular that I thought I addressed today. One board member was vehemently opposed to more parking. And that's a real problem. You know, we just had one of those blue light alarms, the blue light special went off, and the traffic congestion on Plank Road, or Plato Road, was absolutely terrible. Emergency equipment was at one end, and at the other end, which should have been by the school. You need the parking area to be a staging area. And what we did with this school is we put a field house on a parking lot and didn't put any parking when we actually have a need for more parking, not less parking. But more importantly, during an emergency situation, this was a horrific event. We had cars coming in, picking up their kids. It was a total traffic jam up there. We couldn't even get our trucks in from the back roads for 15 minutes. And parking is part of that problem, okay? And number two, I wanted to address Mr. Afif on the equity statement over there. I'm vehemently opposed to equity versus equality, and there's a big difference. Sir, you were a coach. You certainly didn't teach your students to tie. You taught your athletes to win. And that's, a tie would be equivalent to equity. But equal opportunities, they all had the equal opportunity to compete. And that's what I think we should be teaching here at 301, is the opportunity to compete, the opportunity to succeed, and the opportunity to fail. If you have the opportunity to fail, a lot of success comes from that as well. So I'm vehemently opposed to the word equity as opposed to equal opportunity. And there's a big difference. And I don't think we should have that in our schools. I don't believe the school's here to raise our children. They're here to simply teach our children. Teachers should teach. Raising students is up to the parents. And sometimes I think we cross that line. I've seen that done. So my interest, of course, is going to be from the township level. We have a better school. It's certainly much better for the taxpayer, not only on what the taxpayer pays, but property values. And moving here. I think that's, I'm looking at the clock over here. I don't have much time, so I'll go. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dave Chapman.
Good evening. On behalf of CEA, I wanted to congratulate and welcome Dr. Schumacher and Dr. Powell to District 301, and with your roles as our interim superintendents. We look forward to working with you for the next 16-ish months. And also appreciate you guys taking time to come to the schools during the mornings this week. So I think it's great for the staff to be able to get to know you and to ask you questions as well, so thank you. And then I want to thank the board as well for your collaborative approach when it came to the interview process. I think given such a big decision, I was very appreciative to have CEA involved in that, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Jean Meyer.
Oh, my printer would not work, and this is very small. Jean Meyer, resident. My Christian worldview says that there is truth, and truth matters. 3 issues have come up recently, which makes it appear as if this school district has had administrators and/or board members who have set a precedent to silence the public and the board. Every board member needs to know the truth about these issues and share the truth with the public. Number 1, last board meeting, you all eagerly discussed having robust conversations with the public, be it at the grocery store or the sports field, or a planned forum for public questions and answers. Yet, a few months ago at a board meeting, Dr. Nolan, now resigned, was described by onlookers as nearly lunging over the board table at Plato Township Supervisor Mike McMahon. As a nurse, I would have put in my notes, oh gosh, I'm shaking, appeared agitated, repeated in an accusatory voice with anguish. He tried to talk to me at my kid's ball game more than once. I wondered what was the matter at the time. It seemed kind of unusual behavior. But now it comes to light that this board was held hostage to some long-held standard that you cannot engage the public about school matters in daily life. Is this a law, a board preference, or a board member or administrator trying to keep the board under their control and the public in the dark? Number two board members have said to the public that they were instructed not to reply to emails from the public. Is this a law, a local board policy, dangerous ideation promoted by an administrator or a long-term board member to keep the public in the dark? Number three, Dr. Mongan said it was acceptable for her to look at board members' emails when she felt it was justified. Our attorney board member, Mr. Afif, said he thought it would first require, and I'm not sure of the term, a subpoena. That was last month, he said that. And then later at the candidate forum this past week, he said that he thought it would at least require a FOIA. Is this a state law that she could go through emails, a local school policy, or a dangerous ideation promoted by an administrator or a long-term board member to keep board members under their thumb? I think that when there is a question of right or wrong, or truth or falsehood, or just a mistake, that each individual board member, when they see that, should question it. And they shouldn't wait until there's a majority that are with them. One should be able to stand alone. And it seems to me these issues have been active since before Dr. Mongan probably became supervisor. So we have a chance now at a new beginning, and after the election again, a new beginning. Let's keep truth, transparency, and educating our young people as our primary objective. Thank you, and welcome to our co-superintendents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Ginger Romano?
Hi there. I'm Virginia Romano. I'm a resident taxpayer, Burlington Township. The tax thing is my big thing. So anyway, I just had a couple things. I was looking at the the resolutions on the policy, changing the language on some of the things, whether, I don't know if it's actually, I really didn't take the chance to go over and look at it really well and do my proper research, but, so I don't know if it's changes of wording in state law or if it was just, kind of changing words for our own school policy. But there was one particular resolution that I didn't quite understand because the two words have totally different meanings, and it was changing the word shall to is. So shall and is are very different, and I have the dictionary here to do that, but I don't think I'm going to go over the difference because I don't know. Might be a little trivial, but anyway, that's all I wanted to say pretty much, and I'm really looking forward to the two interim superintendents and hopeful and looking forward to positive change for the district. And also, on a positive note, I did attend the culture blast, and I was very pleasantly surprised, and it was very kind of cool to see all the different countries represented and the work the students put into describing the different countries and stuff like that. It was really kind of neat. So thank you.
Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you.
PK?
Good evening. My name is PK Parek. Thank you, Dr. Hogg, for taking on additional responsibilities for the past several weeks, and welcome to our two new superintendents. As the board knows, I've spoken before on a few different occasions about our accelerated placement program, the proposed new program, the policy, and the program design process. And you have my comments in writing. Those comments are, I think, directionally consistent with what Ms. Musial shared in terms of what you would like to see from a design process. What I wanted to spend my 3 minutes on, since you already have all of that in your hands, was just to suggest a few items to move from today's consent agenda to the later part of the meeting where you can discuss them and consider them individually. So I'll just cover a few of those and why I think you should consider them individually. All right. And these relate to the board policies, either reviewed by the board or by the board policy committee. The first thing is that it's a general question that pertains to various policies such as 2270, 510, 520, 710, I might have missed one or two, that have some sort of provision for someone to submit a complaint about discrimination and harassment or some such thing, equal opportunity. These policies refer to all of those complaints being handled by a complaint manager who is a district employee. And so the concern I think you should discuss is that if the nature of the complaint is a complaint about an administrator in the district, such as a superintendent or assistant superintendent or other person in position of authority, it seems like the complaint manager, who is an employee of such people, would not be an independent person to perform the investigation into the complaint. Some of the policies contain a provision that the report of the complaint manager would be provided directly to the board. There's only a few, I think one example where that would occur. But the investigation itself, even that example, will be conducted by an employee of the person who the complaint is about. And so I think that represents a conflict. And so you could provide a provision for either an independent investigator or somehow handling the point of independence in an investigation. The second thing is in policy 2270, which is about discrimination and harassment on the basis of race, color, and national origin. I believe the revisions here are intended to conform to the recent changes or adopted by new law in Illinois, the Illinois Human Rights Act. And they're consistent generally with Article 5A, which is a section on elementary, secondary, and higher education. However, they seem to omit the provisions under the preceding section, Article 5, about public accommodations, which also apply to a variety of institutions, including institutions of higher education, or including schools. And so some of the prohibited bases for discrimination, while covered a little bit under the policy and equal opportunity, they don't seem to be fully covered in 2270 about non-discrimination.
PK, we'll have to wrap it up.
Okay. And then third, on the accelerated placement program policy, there's language that's revised from meets or exceeds to just exceeds. That is consistent with one of the sections in what I believe is the most recent updated version of the Accelerated Placement Act. However, by striking meets and not adding another section about the meets provision, you've omitted an important paragraph that comes immediately after the exceeds paragraph, which says that anyone who meets the standards for math, science, or reading is automatically eligible, not automatically enrolled, but automatically eligible for accelerated placement. And so it's an important omission in that policy. There are a few other technical problems with the way it's phrased as well, but since there isn't time, I just thought you should consider that separately and have a discussion as to whether it's actually conforming to the language and intent of the law. Thank you.
Thank you. That was it? Yep. Okay. The next item on the agenda is selecting a replacement for Eric Nolan's remaining 2-year seat. The board received resumes from several members of the community. We conducted interviews last week and will be voting on an appointment this evening. At this time, I will open the floor for a motion second for an appointment.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Ryan Wasson.
I'll second that motion.
A motion to appoint Ryan Wasson has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, to me, it seems inappropriate. I don't know Ryan at all, but it seems inappropriate to appoint someone who is endorsed by the CEA. I mean, it's a conflict of interest for our taxpayers, it seems. And I have concerns as a taxpayer regarding that. I just think it's a little odd. I mean, I understand why you want him. I think you want him on the negotiations team with Morgan, because you guys might not win the election, so you want people who are here for longer than just a couple months to start that. I think the whole process that you interviewed candidates was a little skewed also, so I'm not sure. I mean, I don't even think I couldn't make the one day that you put out there for interviews, and I don't even think you all interviewed all of the candidates. Is that correct?
We split, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We split them up, so there were 9 candidates. And in order for us to basically interview all 9, we would have been here probably till midnight. So what we did is we basically took chunks, each of us, it was Jennifer and myself, it was Morgan, Jay, and Mark and we literally split up. And we took, the different interviews in different rooms, we recorded them, and then we came back into closed session and we reviewed them as a whole. And had conversation. It was the most effective way, not only to give everyone the opportunity to interview. I know the last time we interviewed for the spot that Jennifer Volpe has, we actually didn't interview everybody, right? We chose certain ones to interview, or at least this way, we felt we wanted to give everybody the opportunity to interview, so that's why we did it in that way.
But we didn't choose not to interview everybody. I think it was based on where they lived in the district, because we had slots that were full.
We had when we were looking at, there were other criteria though, right, we looked at different criteria and then that weeded some of the list down. And then we ended up with the folks that we had, but I mean, it wasn't like just based on boundaries and townships.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing I wasn't there and you didn't fill me in on your choice, I guess, for your motion, what are the qualifications of Ryan Wasson? What qualifications exceed the other applicants? Just so I know, so I can vote,
Absolutely. So one of the reasons I'd like to, the reasons I'd like to appoint Ryan is because he is dedicated to the community. And he prioritizes the future and the well-being of children in the district. As a father of 3 elementary-aged children within the district, he has a strong personal investment in the success of our schools. Ryan actively serves our community by coaching youth sports, including baseball, football, and rugby. He demonstrating his commitment to supporting and mentoring our students beyond the classroom. Additionally, he experiences as a board trustee for the Village of Burlington has provided with him valuable insight into the board governance and board decision-making process. His candidacy for the school board position for me in the upcoming election further reflects his dedication and commitment to our community and serving our community, so I have a different view on that than you. And I believe Ryan's leadership, community involvement, and firsthand perspective as a parent makes him a strong choice for this role.
I'm glad you prepared that. That's very informational.
Dean, can I speak to this?
Go ahead, Jay.
So I don't think that there is any conflict of interest to consider somebody who is running for this position. I absolutely find it absurd to think that somebody who is endorsed by the teachers union would have a conflict of interest in serving on the school board. The CEA has a constitutional right to exist and advocate for the interests of the teachers, and one of those elements to that right is the ability to pick candidates for the school board that they think are going to protect their right to organize and to collectively bargain. And this is me speaking as somebody who wasn't endorsed by the CEA. So I don't have a horse in the race in that sense. I still think it's absolutely appropriate for a person who is endorsed by the CEA to sit on this board. Now, we interviewed this group of individuals, many of whom are in the audience here today. And I would say, my personal view, it was an outstanding group of people. And we would be lucky to have all of you serve on this board. We had to pick one person. And we interviewed you all. We came back into the room. We discussed it amongst ourselves, as we do many issues. And we narrowed it down to a small group of people that we thought should be considered. But knowing that ultimately the full board has to make that decision, we said, let's make sure that we invite everybody to come in, because we don't know how this is going to turn out. If Ryan or any of the people who are running were to be selected, all that would do is put us in a situation where if they win, they take their 4-year spot. And then a 2-year spot opens up again 2 months later. And some might say, oh, what a waste of time. You guys spent 4 hours sitting in that boardroom deliberating over something, and now you got to do it again. And I say, and this is my personal view, speaking to the board and to the community, what a great opportunity, because now we had, 9 candidates, we picked one, 8 more candidates that could have taken that spot now are on a short list. And I would expect that they would all put in if that scenario comes to pass. And what a great opportunity for this community to be able to then consider those 8 individuals that we already met and any others that want to put in. And then we select another great candidate to fill that 2-year vacancy. And what we've done is fulfilled our obligation to the community to put good people on the board when a vacancy occurs. And that's the thought process here. So the fact that somebody is running, the fact that somebody is endorsed by the teachers union, none of those are negative factors. And in fact, the fact that somebody is running, in my calculus, personal only, is a plus. And why is it a plus? Because somebody who's willing to run has shown that they have the commitment to actually, put themselves out there, because it's a 2-year appointment. 2 years is the amount of time that you take to just get up and running in a position like this. I would want somebody who takes that 2-year spot to be the kind of person that says, yes, if I get this appointment, I'm going to take it, I'm going to work hard, and then when 2027 comes around, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to go another 4 years. And so picking somebody who is already in the race tells me they already have that commitment. So if they lose, I know that they will re-up in 2027. So that's the thought process that I'm bringing to this.
Yeah, I know he said that the CEA should not endorse people. I understand that. So, that's not what I was saying at all. I respect most of our teachers, but I just think it's a little weird that, Ryan was seen having drinks with the lead chief negotiator of the CEA. So to me, that just seems, again, that's what raises a little red flag, We are going into negotiations. You guys have already said you don't want me on the negotiations team. There's no one left on the board that is not up for reelection. So who would be on there? Morgan, and you need a second person. So again, I go back to that of this is very convenient to have Ryan join, because no matter what, he's on for at least 2 years.
So, Jeff, I don't think that having a drink with a school teacher who happens to also represent the teachers in the union is a disqualifying factor. It definitely doesn't impugn his character.
No.
And what you're saying, if you say that it calls their credibility or the into question, if they're going to come in as administration's representatives in the negotiations, well, if that is the case, and you're saying that's not good, what you're saying is you can't count on him to have the interests of the administration at heart. And to me, at least, that is impugning his character. And I've seen nothing about any of the people that applied for this that would tell me that they would not treat their responsibilities with the utmost care and fiduciary duty. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know his character. I don't know him. I didn't interview him, so, I'm hoping you're right.
Yeah.
I just wanted the taxpayers to know that that's out there. I mean, again, I think it's a little odd, so I was
And
just
I
raising that.
mentioned that I didn't think that splitting the rooms was appropriate, Jeff. I personally didn't like that because I only got to see half the candidates. And, I was.
There's a big eye roll behind you, Mark.
I'm sorry?
There was a big eye roll behind you.
Yeah, go ahead, finish it and I'll explain it.
So, I only got to see half the candidates, so I brought it up that I thought we should, let the people that were applying be non-balloted people, and I was outvoted, so.
Yes, we covered this issue, and I'm glad you brought it up so I can cover it with everybody else too. The fact that we split it up into two groups is neither here nor there. When we do the union negotiations, we have 2 board members out of 7 who sit through meeting after meeting after meeting and then report back to us. The biggest dollars in our budget, only 2 out of 7. And then they come back and report. Because why there is supposed to be this sense of trust amongst the board that, hey, if 2 people go in and do this negotiation and come back and report to us, that we're going to trust what they say. Now, I guess you're saying, I didn't interview that person, so I actually don't trust that that was what you're reporting back is accurate or not. That's your right to say that. I'm not finished. I'm not finished.
All I'm saying,
I'm not
Jay,
finished,
is
Mark.
I wanted the
Mark,
opportunity.
why don't you let me finish?
I'll let you finish,
Yeah.
Jay, and then I'll talk.
Absolutely.
That's fine,
That's how
Jay.
we're supposed to
That's
do
fine,
it.
Jay.
So can you stop talking? Thank you. So this is the kind of absurdity that we have to deal with this gentleman right here.
Wow.
Why don't you stop talking when it's not your turn?
And why don't you quit insulting, Jay?
You are the one that's being insulting.
All right, bring it back.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, wow is right. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing the things that we did in terms of splitting the room up. Creating that as an issue here is a red herring, and it's meant to instigate this type of animosity amongst the board, which is absolutely, I agree, not necessary. But just remember where it's coming from.
Jay, the point I was making is it would have been nice to interview all the candidates. That's the point I'm making. That's it. That's all I'm saying, Jay.
Any more discussion? Mandy, please take a roll call vote.
Gorman,
No.
Pappas,
Yes.
Volpe. Yes. Afif,
Yes.
Falk,
No.
Hemphill,
Yes.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Motion is carried.
Congratulations.
At this point, we'll have Ryan Watson step forward and take the oath of office, and you'll sit over here next to Mandy. And then we'll just have you come right over here, and then you'll read that for us.
Ryan, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations. And I'll take the oath of office by reading that out to all of us.
I, Ryan Watson, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Central Community Unit School District 301, in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a school board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As a part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Central Community Unit School District 301. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. Excuse me. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community schools to advance the vision for Central Community Unit School District 301, and I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Thank you.
We started on the same day.
Okay. All right, I need a motion second are required to elect a vice president.
So moved.
Second.
All right, nomination are now in order for the office of vice president.
I'd like to nominate Ryan Wasson.
I'll second.
Ryan Watson is nominated. Are there any others?
I'd like to nominate Morgan. You can second it.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. All in favor of Ryan Watson to serve as vice president, please raise your hand. Okay. There's
All those opposed?
Two votes. What's that?
Yeah.
Two
Hey,
votes.
Jennifer, did you raise your hand?
Oh. Jennifer, is your hand raised?
No, I can do the little hand thing on here, though. I found it.
We can't see it.
We can't see you. Okay. All in favor of Morgan Pappas to serve as vice president, please raise your hand.
The hand raising.
I heard it. I didn't see it. I got it, though. I got it. What is that? 3, 4.
There was 5.
Five. I'm sorry. I can't count. Sorry.
Vice President, congratulations
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations.
or condolences.
I need to read the rest of the statement, though.
Say that again.
The end of that statement, please, as Morgan received on your paperwork, please.
Oh. You're saying just read the rest of this? Okay, yeah. All right. As Morgan Pappas has received the majority of the votes casted, Morgan Pappas has been elected as vice president. There is no call vote required. No roll call vote. Okay. Congratulations, Megan.
you.
Morgan. All right, motion is carried. All right, I need a motion second are required to discuss and approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Included in your board packet are your revenue and expenditure reports. Revenues are currently at 43.12% compared to 44.21 a year ago. Expenditures are at 51.68% compared to 48.96% a year ago. This month, or this past month in January, we received $35,632 for 5 new home starts. There were no transition fees. The bills payable reports were approved at last week's board meeting. And then ISB has published the results of the property tax relief grant that we applied for. We did not qualify for it. We were one of the only King County schools to apply for the grant, and this grant would abate property taxes for community taxpayers for tax relief for 2 years. So we did apply. We were ranked 76th on the list, and only the top 36 people were awarded. So we did not qualify this year.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion?
Okay, Volpe,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Afif,
Yes.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Pepis,
Yes.
Hemphill,
Yes, motion is carried. I need a motion second and required to discuss and approve the dance team's overnight trip to the state competition in Bloomington, Illinois that occurred on January 30th through February 1st.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion?
Oh, he left.
It's already happened, so.
Oh, yeah,
it's
it's what it is. Okay. We can take.
Watson,
Yes.
Afif,
Yes.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Pepis.
Yes.
Volpe,
Yes.
Hemphill,
Yes, motion is carried. I need a motion second and required to discuss and approve the cheer team's overnight trip to the sectionals competition in Farmington, Illinois that occurred January 31st through February 1st.
So moved.
Second.
It already happened, so we
Yep.
don't need any discussion on that.
Afif,
Yes.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Pepis,
Yes.
Volpe,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Hemphill,
Yes, motion is carried.
Can I just comment on just procedure?
Yeah, go ahead.
And just to, for what it's worth, most of these items in most districts would be under consent. And the fact that you're approving something that's already occurred,
Happened.
well, to me, the board's responsibility is to approve the expenditure, maybe a report after the activity as information only, and tell, you know, tell us how excited the kids were
Right.
at those camps. But to me, to use board time to be more efficient, it should be approved in advance, and then maybe a report back at how it all worked out, and it should be under consent agenda if it's a routine kind of annual thing. Now, if it's the first time the cheerleaders or the pom-poms or whatever go on one of these trips, well, then that should come to the board for approval beforehand. Otherwise, and that should be separated. But if it's a regular annual thing, that should be under consent. It saves you a whole lot of time.
This isn't an annual thing. We didn't know we couldn't approve it before because they made it that far after our last board meeting.
Oh, okay.
So
That's great.
it all have timing. We couldn't approve it beforehand.
Right.
And that's
Well,
why
you
we
could
don't put it.
tentatively approve it, based on, you know, if they are successful, blah, blah, blah.
Then
And,
we'd have to approve every sport, right?
well,
I
any
guess.
special trip like this, yeah. There's not that many special trips in schools outside of the school district.
I guess I'm confused. Like, if a sports team makes it past the sectionals or whatever, then they go downstate. Don't all sports have downstate?
Right,
state
absolutely.
championships? So what, we would just approve them in
No,
case they made it
when
that
you
far?
approve your total budget, which is an estimation of what your expense and revenue is, you are actually approving, that would be calculated into potential expenditures. So, to me, you wouldn't have to approve that.
So then
It would already been
approve that
approved.
amount in all of the different sports activities. And then
Well,
we just
and-
come in under budget if they
Yeah,
didn't come
and
in.
athletic director cannot calculate how many kids are gonna go to section, how many kids, you know, it's impossible. I just, you know, so that's assumed, but in terms of the budget building by the athletic director, that would be covered if in case the kids are so successful, they go to section. Or state, you know, even better.
Okay. All right. That's something to consider.
Something to think about.
All right. Oh, I got one more, sorry.
No.
Any motion second or required to discuss and approve the cheer team's overnight trip to the state competition in Bloomington, Illinois that occurred February 6th through February 8th?
So moved.
Second.
This already happened, so no discussion needed.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Pepis,
Yes.
Volpe,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Afif,
Yes.
Hemphill.
Yes, motion is carried. All right, I need a motion second and required to discuss and approve the veterinary affiliation agreements as presented.
So moved.
Second.
So we have two more locations to be able to support our vet tech program where our students are able to go out and get their externship hours. A renewal, the one is listed as Bartlett Animal Hospital. A new location is Healthy Paws Animal Hospital. So one new location and one current one that is just a renewal from year to year.
Any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Gorman?
Thank you.
Yes.
Pepis?
Yes.
Volpe?
Yes,
Lawson?
Yes.
Afif?
Yes.
Falk?
Yes.
Hemphill?
Yes, motion is carried. All right, a motion second and required to discuss and approve the boundary change as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Is that you?
Yeah, Dr. Howe?
That's you.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, pardon me. This was talked about last month, and we have, typically our enrollments at Prairie View have been declining. So we have room to fit those kids at, with the West Point Gardens, they've begun construction on their Phase 3 development. So we know that there are going to be 74 lots that could be sold, homes currently under construction. So under our current boundaries, those students would go to Howard B. Thomas Elementary. Our recommendation is we'd like to change those boundaries so students at West Point Gardens Phase 3 will attend Prairie View Grade School as we have the room for that in that capacity.
One question, oh, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
No, makes sense.
It makes sense, but one question I was looking at that parcel, and so it looks like like the picture, the map that was in there. So it looks like it's really, yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you. That piece, so it's basically I don't want to say underdeveloped, but it's basically what's in progress, right? Is what you're trying to say will go over there, not
Correct.
the rest of anything
Yes,
else. Okay.
correct.
I just want to make sure.
Have any community members reached out like, oh, I live right next door to West Point Gardens, but now my kids are going to HBT. Why are you doing that? Like, I'd rather.
Because they're right across the street. There's literally like a street there, and then there's.
Right.
No.
Okay.
How about you, board president? No?
No, I haven't heard anything, but I was just curious, because to your point, I see people, there's that street literally right there, and on the right other side of it, they could say, well, my kids are going all the way to HBT, and they could just go right there, but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, so no current families will be impacted because.
Right, because it's
hasn't
just,
been anything
right, there's nothing.
completed yet,
Yeah,
but
Right, but they will go.
down the road.
you're down the road, yeah, just something to think about. Okay. Yep.
Pepis?
Yes.
Volpe?
yes,
Lawson?
Yes.
Afif?
Yes.
Falk?
Yes.
Gorman?
Yes.
Hemphill?
Yes, motion is carried. Motion second and required to discuss and approve the resolution in support of Vision 2030.
So moved.
So
I'm sorry, do we need a
need a
second?
Second.
Second, somebody.
Second.
Okay,
okay.
that's you.
So Vision 2030, it's Blue Point for Public Education in Illinois. And it centers around keeping, the priorities of keeping students safe, keeping high-quality educators in front of students, enhancing our post-secondary success, and improving the measurement of what is working. So within the document, it outlines recommendations for future-focused learning, shared accountability, predicted funding for our schools so that we can ensure that we have money that's continually coming in. Illinois Association of School Boards, they're recommending that boards of education sign a resolution in support of this vision. And as most of this vision aligns with things that we are doing and recommending in 301, we do recommend that the board sign the resolution demonstrating support of this Vision 2030.
Any questions, discussion?
I've read it. I don't have any objection to it.
I read it as well. I didn't have any objection to it. Matt, I was wondering if you had anything that was, cause to take a pause at it or to think about it or anything within it.
I did
we need to
not.
consider?
I felt that, it's pretty straightforward. It talks about the things that we've tried to focus on here in 301 over my years that I've been in the district. So
Okay.
I don't see anything that,
Glaringly
that
stands
glares,
out.
Right, that stands out, correct.
Okay.
No hidden agendas or anything like that.
Good.
meeting.
Volpe,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Afif,
Yes.
Falk,
Yes.
Gorman,
Sure.
Pappas,
Yes.
Hemphill.
Yes, motion is carried. I need a motion and second are required to discuss and approve adding new business as an agenda item.
So moved.
Second.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, you're probably going to explain what it is, so go ahead.
So the idea is that we want to add a section to the agenda after we take care of everything else, but before we go to the closed business, so that if there is any new business, for example, if a board member has an idea about something that needs to be addressed, maybe something that came through public comment, maybe something that we've received feedback from and we want to talk about pursuing it in some form or fashion, that we create a new business item on the agenda so that there can be some discussion, like within the open meeting, and have a dialogue amongst the board, so that we have something to think about, and then perhaps for the administrators to work on, or for board, teachers, community, and administration to collaborate on, so that then it can come back at a future date as an agenda item for a proposal to do something. And so that was the idea. And some days, some board meetings, there may be no new business. Some days, there might be some. And just having it on the agenda gives us as board members an opportunity to talk about things that, have been brought up, for example, in public comment, but we don't otherwise have an opportunity to address. Like, for example, I can give you an example. Like today, PK came and spoke about certain aspects of the accelerated gifted program and some of the policy things. He also sent all of us some memos.
Right.
I had some questions about it, and in a new business section, we could say, well, okay, we received something from the community and they raised this issue. Is this something that we've talked about before? Is this something that we want to dig into a little bit more? That's kind of the idea of new business.
Any questions or discussion?
Just that this requires I think it's a great idea, but I didn't know it would
In order
require
to put
a
it
board
on there,
vote to
we
put
got to
it out
approve
there.
it. Yeah, and then add it to, it would be an info after that.
Some districts, by the way, it's really simple, action items, then they're new business and old business.
Right.
But usually, what we would do is at the beginning of the agenda, you would ask, is there anything you would like to change in the agenda? I'd like to take this off consent, I want, there's a whole number of things you can do. But again, when you add an item that, at the last minute, you don't give our administration a chance to do the proper research. So to me, the best way to do it is have an agenda item at the end of your agenda, items to be discussed at the next meeting, March 17th. And then you have a couple of weeks to give a thorough review of what the issues are and have all your questions answered. So to me, action item, new and old. And new would be actual specific items that we discuss, but you also have the opportunity at the end of the meeting say, we want the following questions answered on this topic.
Right, and that's definitely the idea, is not to create a situation where I would raise an issue and ask the administration, what are you going to do about this? Right then and there. And our board policy actually provides for any board member on his or her motion without, vote, can take anything out of consent agenda and move it into,
It's true in every district.
Yeah, so we have that. So are you saying we shouldn't have new business, or you're saying
You should have action, new and old. And in new,
and old business.
you would actually be able to then add additional items, but not for that meeting, for the next meeting.
Right, not to vote, yeah. Okay.
For what it's worth.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
You're not taking action, right? Oh, you are?
Yeah, we're gonna,
So you need to amend it.
yeah, we'd have to amend that though, in order to add what you just added. Just make it all difficult.
So I would move to
Making your life
amend,
harder, huh?
D, so I'll move to amend the proposal to add an action, new and old business into the agenda at wherever it's appropriate. And then if that amendment is,
And the opportunity for board members to add items for the following agenda, for
Yeah.
the next agenda.
that'll be my motion, amended.
Okay.
Anybody want to second it?
You want a second?
Second.
Watson?
Yes.
Afif?
Yes.
Falk?
Yes.
Gorman?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Volpe?
Yes.
Penfield?
Yes. Motion is carried. Okay. All right, on to information items. I am first up. So I just want to provide an update on the board's referral to the regional superintendent to remove Jeff Gorman from the Board of Education. On January 22nd, Dr. Monaghan sent a brief email to Regional Superintendent Dr. Patricia Del Santo, which included the memorandum and censure presented to the board regarding the removal of board member Jeff Gorman from office. During the January 21st meeting, a majority of the board voted in favor of his removal. Under school code, a regional superintendent of schools has the authority to remove a school board member from office for willful failure to perform official duties. In response, Dr. Del Santo stated that the memorandum does not contain allegations that fall within the scope of official duties as defined by school code. As a result, no further action will be taken by her office. Jeff Gorman will remain on the school board unless he voluntarily resigns or his current term ends and he is not reelected. Did you want to say anything about that? I just wanted to give the
I know
update.
you guys are bummed, but you're stuck with me for a little longer.
No. Did you want to say anything to that or just
No, I think it says enough.
okay. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay. Committee reports, DLT, Dr. Howe.
Yes, so
District
our
leadership team.
DLT, or district leadership team, met on February 13th. We had two action items, two items that we really talked about. It was, first was our 2026, 2027 calendar discussion. So we're in a good place where we're looking at the calendars well ahead of time now. And for that team, two versions of draft calendars were provided to the team. One had a start date of August 10th, and the other had a start date of August 17th. In talking with the group, the earlier start does align better with some of the other organizations that we work with, such as our Pathway Partners, whereas the 8/17 start was more aligned to what we've done in 24-25 and 25-26. Both calendars did have semester one ending at the winter break. And there was some discussion about adding a half day in early May to allow for vertical articulation, horizontal and vertical articulation, and break up that long stretch in May if we went with that 8/17 start date. So we, as a committee, I mean Mandy, did some adjustments to made suggested adjustments to the calendars. We shared them back with the committee members, and we asked them to bring to their buildings for further discussion with their teachers and get their thoughts. And we'll revisit those calendars at our next meeting, determine a recommendation to bring to the board. So that was item number one. Second item was our Buildings and Grounds Director, Paul Away. He discussed some of the various facilities projects that were discussed at the Facilities Committee's meeting. And some of that will be talked about later, but it included things like capital improvements, large-scale projects, and projects that were specifically related to accommodating our continued growth in enrollment. And more of that on that will be shared in the facilities update.
Questions? Okay. All right, Morgan, can you share an update on the community advisory team?
Sure. So Dana, our business manager, did a presentation for everyone on 301's budget and funding sources. And I'm actually going to kind of put her on the spot and turn it over to her because it was a fabulous presentation. I just want you to be able to kind of share what you shared with the rest of us on the budget and funding. And I also told her I think it was a great idea if maybe this was something that was shared a little more often, maybe every year with everybody in the community as well.
So I was invited to the CAT meeting as a guest speaker to kind of answer some budget questions. At a prior meeting, there were some questions on how a budget works and how the funds work. So I put together a very basic level presentation that explained all the different funds that we use at Central, and how the funds get their revenues, which revenues belong to which funds, how the expenditures are coded to those exact funds, so you can figure out which ones go where. There was slides that came straight out of the budget presentation, so some of it was just repetitive from my last fall's budget presentation. There were revenues. It kind of broke down all the different state, local, and federal level revenues, and which grants are included in those different kinds of categories, which revenues can be in the different funds. And then at the very end, there was questions about the bond payment schedule, so I walked through how to read our current bond schedule, walked them through all the different bonds that we have still in place and the ones that are coming off, and how the bond and interest rate is calculated on that schedule. Lots of great conversation came out of there, a lot of questions. I thought it was going to be like a 20-minute presentation with questions, and we took almost the whole time. So unfortunately, facilities was rushed. They were supposed to have the second half of the meeting, and I won't steal his thunder, but so he had different facility, same things that he probably brought up at DLT that he had more time on. Then in the CAP meeting, he rushed through as quickly as he could, but got some of the high-level points on, and I believe probably will be reporting back at the next meeting in more details.
Yeah, the only additional thing after you left,
Yeah.
Dr. Hogg brought up streaming of the CAT, and I think it was not well received. I think a few people liked it. I think, I would say the majority didn't like that idea, just because they didn't join it to be gone after, as certain board members have been gone after, were, elected. So, I mean, we're fair game. But they felt like, I'm not fair game. I don't want to deal with that, which is totally understandable. So it was talked about maybe streaming the audio. Ultimately, it was decided just to wait. Maybe we wait a year, maybe we wait 6 months and revisit it. So it was a little interesting discussion. But yeah, Dan ran through his stuff as quickly as he could, so yeah. That's all.
Thank you. Facilities, Mark, can you update us on the facilities committee?
Yeah, so we had a lengthy meeting. We had a lot of participation. They reviewed the prior month's information, and then we talked about CHS's athletic updates. One of the discussions was to potentially charge usage fees to cover the expense of our janitors and custodials to clean up, and also put in force or maybe charge the feeder programs a set fee. So we're looking into that just to minimize our costs. Auditorium rental, we talked about that, and there's more discussion on that. And then we talked about non-capital projects and future capital projects that were being done, such as big ones like HBT's roof, Lily Lake's HVAC, CHS stadium and athletic track and bleachers and press box. So more to come. We have a meeting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, we did the RFQ for the architects were due back on February 20th.
Oh.
So Dan, are you here?
It's
So
part of
that,
the update.
I'm assuming we'll hear about that tomorrow? All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Curriculum Director Berkmeyer, will you share an update on Curriculum Coordinating Council?
Yes. So we met last month. Steve and I both shared a little bit about Open Architects, which is the data warehouse. All of our assessment that staff are giving across the district. This is one platform that will pull all that information together for staff. So it'll help with the analysis, data review in one-stop shop rather than going to each one of these individual pieces. So we did walk the team through that. Staff had access to that as of this past Wednesday. So principal team will start to dig into what that's going to look like in the building level. We did also talk a little bit about the changes or upcoming changes to state assessments. That includes IAR an ISA and ACT, so they're going to right-size the proficiency targets right now, so they're more in line. We are actually the 4th in the nation, so they're going to right-size what those are going to be, so they're more aligned to what are looking like in other states surrounding us. I did also talk through our accelerated program that we had talked about, or I brought forward last month as well. I'll talk about that a little bit later on the agenda. But I just walked the team through that, answered some questions, and had some dialogue with our team regarding that process. Brian did bring to the team, we're going to be adjusting our a 3-year cycle for Chromebook to a 4-year cycle. So that adjustment will be made. He was seeking some feedback from the committee members in that regard. Everything was good to go. I did update the team on our math pilot. So we have K-5 has been piloting iReady and Into Math. I will be bringing something forward next month for recommendation on how we want to move forward. 6-8 is currently reviewing Reveal Math, and I'll bring that forward as well for recommendation at that point. With that process, we had an intervention tool, core intervention tool called Spring Math, and hearing from our teachers, it is not well received. It has not been successful for us, so we are up for renewal for that contract, and as a team determined that we do not want to review that or continue with that. We are moving away from that. That was primarily used in K-5. Good news is, with each one of the pilots that we're doing or finishing up, both of those come with a personalized pathway. So it's going to basically replace what was being used for Spring Math, and we will have that piece embedded within. That will be part of core, embedded in the classroom. A lot of surrounding districts do that as a supplementary piece that's done at home. We are asking that's embedded inside our classrooms. So that will bring forward next month. We did have some continued conversation about everyday speech SEL. Some feedback that I'm gathering from our teachers that, again, SEL needs do not happen at 9:10 in the morning on Tuesdays. They're happening all throughout the day, and we really believe it should be responsive to what our students' needs are in the classroom. And so we're going to be moving away from the everyday speech SEL. There was some dialogue about zones of regulation being utilized at the elementary. Some of our schools have kind of been dabbling in that. We're looking at doing a universal training piece by one grade level rep per grade level. So they're kind of that point person as grade level teams are having dialogue. We will be embedding that in as an opportunity or a resource that staff can use. It's all about language, so it's not necessarily a specific text that you're using, although they have it embedded within, but it's really being responsive to where the students' behaviors are that are being escalated and giving them the language to reset and review and get back on task. So we'll be bringing that. That'll be continued to move forward. Stephen had talked about biomedical and that coursework. There's been some great feedback. A lot of additional internships are being brought forward this summer, so great feedback in that response. And then he did talk about schooling, so we walked the committee through how are we using it and how will we continue to expand that. So that's really that interest based on students, where are they sitting, whether that's going into a career or whether that's going into college, really being able to tap into those resources to support our students in that next level post-secondary. And that was about it. And we do not have a current board member. Dr. Nolan was our rep that was sitting on CCC. So just let me know if there's somebody that will be joining our team.
Can you go back to Spring Math? What was the issue? I don't know that I necessarily understood. What was the
So
issue with that
it's a core intervention tool. It does have acquisition lessons or intervention lessons that are attached to it. The issue is it's a core intervention, and so some students that really needed that additional support would be expected to just continue to move forward. They were not getting that intervention and stopping to do those acquisition lessons in the classroom. So it just did not have a personalized approach. It was not being implemented as it truly was designed and not giving us what we were expected. Yeah, the personalized pathway in either one, iReady and Into Math, it's called WAGGLE. Students will take a diagnostic assessment and it couples and supports the core instruction. So it's not a pull out, here you're going to go do this, but it's complementary to what the skills are and concepts that they're learning in the classroom.
It's not what we have a replacement for it, so even though we may be no
Correct.
longer, we've got, yeah.
But directly tied to
Directly
core,
tied.
which is what we wanted, and built off student skills. So a student may be excelling in a specific area, so they're going to continue to move on in that skill development, that next trajectory of skills. However, some may need reteaching, and it provides that personalized piece.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Questions? Anything that I can answer?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Okay, Director Holloway, will you provide an update on construction and maintenance projects in the district?
So we're in that illustrious time of the year, getting bids out, kind of planning our summer work. In the perfect world, every year we get better and better at doing this. We'd really like to be doing this right around the Christmas holidays, getting things out right at that point in time. So we're better off this year than we were last. So right now, through a lot of careful planning, a lot of conversation, we're going to be going out to bid to do Howard B. Thomas's roof this summer, as well as the track at Central High School. That'll be full replacement of that entire building roof system, reutilizing some of the insulation. I talked a little bit about that last month to save some dollars and get to those energy codes. As far as the high school track, that'll be full depth, full replacement, asphalt and everything. About 15 to 18 years ago, the track surface was replaced. It's past its useful life expectancy. We've done a lot of repairs. We've done a lot of things to get through. It's time for replacement. So that's our other project that's going out to bid. Talking about growth, we've been kind of brainstorming over the last year and a half, 2 years, what our short-term solutions are for growth. We've met with our elementary administrators because we know that's where the problem is right now. We've come to the conclusion that our best short-term solution right now is mobiles at Country Trails. So we're in the process of working with our vendor on that project. There is an opportunity we could possibly do that through a purchasing co-op in lieu of going out to bid. So we're looking at those options, but that would be a same 4-pack of classroom units, just extending what Country Trails has on the back end right now. So that's kind of the major summer projects. We'll be doing some other space remodeling. We've worked with a lot of the buildings on taking out some walls, adding some walls, doing some different things to kind of address and kind of work with the space that we have. So those little projects will be on the docket, but those will be more through our O&M budget. The other thing is Mark alluded to our architect RFQ. That's been quite the arduous process. We had 11 vendors submit a packet. We're in the process of reviewing those internally. Those will be going to our facilities committee tomorrow with recommendations that our team put together of moving forward. The intent is the week of March 10th, sometime that week, bringing in the finalists for in-person interviews. So the plan is to bring that to the March board meeting with information and approval conversation for our district's architect and/or architects. That's all I got. Any questions?
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Athletics and Activities Director Jeske will share an update on athletics and activities, as well as the softball spring break trip.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Good evening. I'm excited to be up here to finally talk about kids for a change and some of the successes that we've highlighted. As you approved in a lot of the agendas, our dance team brought home a third-place state trophy this past February. In fact, that's our 4th state trophy in 3 years here during my time here, and it's awesome to see those programs grow and continue to see the success from where they were last year. Our cheer team, again, made it down to state yet again, and didn't go their way, dropped a stunt, but they made it back down there again, which is a feat in and of itself. And then most recently, we had 2 individual wrestlers compete at the state meet down in Champaign. They did not place, but they were great representatives of Central High School. We had 2 female wrestlers last Saturday wrestled. Victoria Macias placed for us again, and I believe that's the 4th time she's been down there and placed in her high school career over 4 years. And Ryan Miller went down there again and just fell short. From an athletic standpoint, we're proud of that. We did find out our math team, our mathletes as we call them, 27 of them made it down to the state competition in Bloomington, which happens to be the weekend of prom, but we're working working through that, and just found out we've got a handful of Skills USA kids that are going to be doing the same thing, heading down to state kind of that last weekend in April. With that, Student Council, Service Club are all doing great things on the activity side. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't include some of our middle school accomplishments. 7th and 8th grade girls basketball won their conference championships this past weekend. Our middle school scholastic bowl team won a conference championship. And just found out today, 6 wrestlers made it to the state competition in DeKalb for our middle school. So kudos to not just those kids, but all our coaches, all our sponsors, activity sponsors that put a lot of time and effort to give these kids an opportunity. They do a great job. Spring sports, ironically, 2 started today at the high school. As you can see, it was 50 and sunny. Tomorrow it's going to be 80 and sunny. Everybody's going to get outside, and Dan, every field's going to be ready to go, right? All right. Love it. So we're excited about that. Got a great turnout for spring sports. And then the last thing I do just want to update the board on, the school year 26-27, our middle school is exploring an option to join another conference that will be more competitive with our size and kind of create some additional opportunities for our kids. In 26-27, we are looking to join the 2 St. Charles schools, 2 Geneva middle schools, 1 Batavia, Canelan, and ourselves will make up a 17 middle school conference that will compete in all the same sports that we have now, as well as potentially some additional opportunities for music. We already have scholastic bowl, that'll continue. Chess, we're looking at all those options. As it currently states now with our size and our growth right now, just going out to Rochelle and Belvedere, though we're grateful for it, we're in a position where we've got a lot more kids than some of those schools do, and it's creating an unfair advantage, at least on our end, and we're not getting the opportunities for those kids because they're sometimes not filling a B team in some groups, or, we're getting 100+ kids out for track, and we're going to school that has 40-something. So we're exploring that. That looks like it's a very good possibility. We've kind of checked the boxes with transportation. Pam Porto said from a distance standpoint, it would kind of help out tremendously too a little bit, even though I know Batavia is a bit of a drive, but when you're only doing that once as opposed to going 3 or 4 times throughout the year, I think it gives our kids the best competitive advantage. So I know I threw a lot at you. If there's any questions.
The 2 fastest growing sports in America.
Fastest 2 growing sports in America. Right now, it's girls wrestling and girls flag football.
Flag football, exactly.
Yep.
Fastest growing sports in America.
Wow, and you were able to answer that. Look
Well,
at
I
you.
knew he knew the answer, that's why.
I don't know, I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure.
So,
Great
my
job, thank
timer
you.
go off? Is that all right? We're good?
We're good, thank you. All right, 2025, 2026 school fees.
Okay, so regarding our technology fees, we are recommending that we do not increase technology fees for the 25-26 school year. We are, however, adjusting the life cycle of our Chromebooks. So currently, we're on a 3-year life cycle. We are looking to extend them to a 4-year life cycle. That's consistent with a lot of our area districts, what they're doing. Warranties will continue to be covered, of course. So with that current student device rotation scheduled on a 3-year rotation, we're going to issue 4-year devices, 4-year rotation devices, so nobody inadvertently gets caught with the 5-year, device that starts.
So the devices we have now are less than 4, are they like 3?
They're 3-year cycle.
They are, okay.
What would be wrong with going with a 5-year cycle on it?
Probably their ability to maintain.
Or the rotation. Like, so right now we do kindergarten 3, 6, 9, 11.
Right.
We're gonna change to 1st grade, 5th grade, 9th grade is what we're
Okay.
looking
So then it
towards.
carries you through.
And
So just how it carries through.
Right.
Gotcha.
And it'll take 2 years, we've mapped it all out multiple times. It'll take 2 years to fully get there because we don't want anybody going into a 5th year on our device. And so it'll be pushed out just a little bit to get there, but in 2 years, after 2 rotations, it'll be there.
Right, so kindergarten's no longer getting them?
They're
Or
gonna
what?
remain in carts,
They'll just- okay.
carts or storage units in the room.
Okay.
Do you find that they're lasting? Like, I know we're gonna, obviously, okay, that
Yeah,
they're
we have
lasting
a lot
the
of
3
students
years.
that bring in their old device instead of their current device
Mhm.
because it's not monitored.
Oh, that's,
Regarding our middle school and high school course fees, those are already published for the 25-26 school year. So we're not recommending any increase for course fees for the upcoming school year. Board action will need to be taken for an increase in fees for the 26-27 school year. We'll look at that in late spring. That'll accompany
Spring of
the
next
update.
year.
Pardon me?
Spring of next year?
In late spring, so
This year, okay.
later this year, for the 26-27.
26, 27, right.
And then lastly, there was, included with this memo, there's a spreadsheet of some of all the forward, as you call them, forward-facing fees that we could gather in regards to a request from the Board of Education. So if you look at that spreadsheet on the backside, we really kind of fall in the center of a lot of these districts. The one thing I would point out, our early childhood, that is a tuition-based fee. Okay, so similar to what St. Charles does. So that's for the year. But for the most part, if you kind of look across, we're lower in some, higher in a couple of others, but we tend to fall pretty generally somewhere in the middle range.
Other than St. Charles, it seems like we charge a lot for our course fees. And like, what about like, the new biomedical? Because we have like $125 course fee for that, but I don't see that on here. Is that somewhere else?
The
Am I missing
updated
it?
biomedical fee for that, Mr. Brooks, you have that? I mean, that with, so the second course, the biomedical course fees, that second course isn't running yet. The one for next year.
First level and the second level are already running.
Yeah,
Next year, the third level.
third level.
Comes on. No, the third level, yeah, comes on. And yes, there are a little bit higher expense because of the medical labs. It is a hands-on tactile course. Practically the way that they do lots of dissection, lots of tangible tactile activities. That just does come at a higher expense than to prepare for the direction, which we're still aligned to have CNA, certification happening at the end of that program so that kids test and are successful on them in the future. So you are absolutely right that there is a higher expense for that. I'm not sure how we could offset that.
It's just not on here, that's all. I don't think. That was my question, why it's not listed.
It might not be on there because it's not
Not-
to every single district being able to offer that.
Oh,
Being a
Yeah.
unique class, we have to be able to compare ourselves to what are considered reliable and consistent courses offered throughout a district and the
Gotcha.
kind of Kane County region and that type of stuff. So that would go into compliance as well. So not every district actually offers that. But that is the number one, and it still is in school life. It's the number one offering that our current high school students are trying to get into, which is positive for us as a community, that our healthcare, we're feeding that pipeline as well, so.
Seems like we're nickel and diming all these courses, to be honest, you know? It's like most of these districts don't even charge for course fees, it looks like, right?
Well, there's
St.
a lot
Charles.
of, oh, sure. There's a lot in the center that
They
we
don't
weren't
offer.
able to get there, yeah, we weren't able to find the fees. So it's not that there are none,
Oh, so that's
it's
what
that
it's
they
supposed
weren't
to
say.
publishing them, yes,
Okay.
yes.
It's incomplete data.
So their
Right.
their fees on their website might say varies, and it's just a
There's
range
no specific.
Gotcha.
without
Thanks.
doing more detail. Yep.
Interesting. Good. Okay, was that all you had?
That's all I had.
Okay, all right. Academically advanced learning pathways, Director Brookmeyer.
So last month, I brought forward our accelerated pathway, 4th through 8th grade, with a slow rollout. Year 1 would be 4th and 5th grade, and then we would add on the levels as the years progressed. Receiving feedback that has been shared with myself that you guys have received from various community members, also hearing from some staff members, I'd like to pause. It's an opportunity to go back and have some conversation, pull some people. My thoughts were to get some building reps from all 4 of the buildings, because it would impact all 4 of them, as well as some parents in those various schools that could sit down and talk through some conversations. There's been some concerns that have been brought forward. Students potentially, if we roll this out in fifth grade coming into the 25-26, we would be asking kids that in fifth grade have been there for the last 5 years from, if they entered in kindergarten, to be changing the school that they've been, that has been their home school for the last few years. So I think there's some things, there's an opportunity to gather some feedback, to do some problem solving with the right people in the room and bring that back forward to you for recommendation. I know this was an action item. I did chat and see if there was a way that we could just take a pause, do some further digging, have some conversation, and bring that back to the board.
Any questions?
Any questions you have for me?
I think it's the right thing to do. Maybe
Yeah,
like
I
you said,
agree.
if, we want to make sure that if we're going to roll this out, we roll it out right.
Roll it out right and hear the voices and have some problem solving and see what we can do to make it run as smoothly as possible. There definitely, as I shared last month, there's a need for this. We definitely have some students that are high performing that, just like we would for our students that are lower performing, we want to fill those gaps. We want to continue to extend their learning as well. So there's an opportunity here. I just don't want to rush something. I'd rather take time to dig in and do some problem solving around some of the concerns and questions and get that all fully answered. We brought it through CCC, but that isn't, many of our parents that are sitting in those seats, or many of our teachers, as Sherry mentioned earlier, that would be implementing these pieces. So I think there's an opportunity here for us.
Are you getting feedback globally, like district-wide, about wanting this type of I'm just curious, have we heard from other parents?
No,
or-
there's been mainly, I'm hearing it from a couple schools that have a larger population when we're looking at also, because I've been digging into the data. Do we look at the 93rd percentile above, or do we go to the 95th? So it's definitely coming out of specific buildings that have higher populations, which is just what it is. But I do think it's still an opportunity to dig in and do some problem solving to get this process in place.
Thank you for taking that pause and being able to kind of pivot, noticing that it may need that pivoting to implement it in a
Right.
better, more functional way.
Yeah, thank you.
It's the right thing to do.
Also know, no matter what, our teachers do a phenomenal job, whether you are a high-performing student, you are a typical functioning student, or you have a student that has deficit areas. Our teachers are rolling up their sleeves and doing exactly what is needed. So by all means, this does not indicate, my child that has advanced skills isn't going to get what they need, because they will. That is definitely a part of our priority and what each and every one of our staff members are doing in the classroom. So this does not remove that. Timing is everything, and I think there's an opportunity here to dig in some more.
I agree.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
I'll come forward with some new stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. All right, renewal of contract with auditing firm.
So it's
Dina.
recommended that we renew a 3-year period for our auditors, Assesian, for the June 2025, 26, 27 audits. They've been efficient and effective. They have strong understanding of our district's operations. They're very collegial to work with. They do rotate their auditors. So in my 11 years, we've had 4 different head auditors that rotate through, so you're getting different viewpoints, different sets of eyes on it. And then they always bring out a team of other interns that usually get stuck with some of the yuckier projects. So there are multiple sets of eyes that look at our data. I believe that continuing our partnership with them they give us our audit services, the financial accountability that we look for. I recommend we renew for both Central and for Northern Canes audits.
How long have we had them in place? How long have we had this auditing firm?
I don't know how long. It's been my whole time here. I've been here going on 12 years. So I'm guessing it's been a while before that.
Have we ever
Very
looked at any
common that
others?
Districts have the auditors that period of time. That's not unusual. It's because of the convenience and then knowing the staff in the district, it saves a whole lot of time. And I'm not sure, I don't know your audit firm. To me, it sounds like you're very pleased with it.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion?
No.
Okay.
Closed session.
All right, no, not yet. No.
One more.
Second, Griff, we're not there yet. Enrollment report.
Right, so our enrollment report is included in your packet. and it's got both the quarterly enrollment detail report as well. So you can see on our first page here, student enrollment report, same time, same month last year, we're about 3.3% over, which is pretty consistent with what we've heard in the past. And then you can look on the second page for February 2025, what our totals are at each one of our buildings as they progress. So pretty consistent with kind of where we felt we'd be going.
Okay, Freedom of Information Act. Man, do you want to run these down?
Okay, so we received Freedom of Information Act from Ms. Warren, request for all communications between November 25th, 24th, December 18th, 2024, related to the resignation of Jeff Gorman, either as board president or from the board entirely. We were able to comply with this request in part as there were some exclusions or redactions that were allowed by the law. We also received a Freedom of Information Act request from Steep Steel LLC. Request for copies of all active leases, licenses, or management contracts for cell towers, rooftop antennas, or other wireless installations on property owned or managed by Central 301, along with 24 months of associated payment histories. We were able to comply with this request, however, no records existed. We received a FOIA from Ms. Welch requesting all materials provided to the board as part of the board retreat on April 24th, 2023, as well as any estimates from Larson and Darby, IMEG, Erickson Engineering, and Shales McNutt for work on the proposed high school. That was presented or provided to the board in the same board retreat. We were able to comply with this request. We received a FOIA from the Illinois Retired Teachers Association, request for contact information for certified staff retiring in 2025. We were able to comply with this request. Received a FOIA from Mr. Florzak, request for student enrollment counts by county of residence. In this case, the request was denied as we are not required to answer questions or create new records, and we do not track this information. Received a FOIA from Ms. Welch requesting for project exhibit addendums for the CHS edition in 2024, the PKMS cafeteria expansion, and the CHS edition built between 2017 and 2019 for IMEG, Shales and McNutt Construction, Erickson Engineering, and Larson and Darby. We were able to comply with this request. However, there are no responsive records for some of the requested items. FOIA received from Ms. Welch. We received a request for all communications between Esther Mongan and Steve Larson of Larson and Darby Architects between April 1, 2023 and October 31, 2023. We were able to comply with this request in part as there were some exclusions and redactions as were allowed by law. We received a FOIA from Ms. Welch, a request for the separation agreement between the board and Dr. Mongan, and we were able to comply with this request with redactions that were allowed by law. And a FOIA from Ms. Sarkakis, we received a request for the separation agreement for Dr. Mongan and the employment agreement for Dr. Howard, and we were able to comply with this request with redactions as allowed by law.
Motion second are required to adjourn to open session and move to closed session for the following exceptions: 2C1, 2C2, 2C10, 2C11, 2C21.
So moved.
Second.
Afif?
Yes.
Falk?
Yes.
Gorman?
Yep.
Pappas?
Yes.
Volpe?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Hemphill?